The School Board Candidate Forum, sponsored by Tucsonans United for Sound District and the League of Women Voters. I'm Rich Kronberg, spokesperson for Tucsonans United for Sound District. I taught for 39 years in schools outside of Arizona and retired here 3 years ago. The members of Tucsonans United for Sound District come from a variety of backgrounds. Some are business owners, some, like myself, are educators, some of us are Democrats, some are Republicans, others are independents. The only thing we all share is an absolute commitment to the future of public education. Please allow me to introduce the four candidates: Ms. Adelita Grijalva, Mr. Michael Hicks, Mr. Miguel Ortega, and Mr. Armand Solis. Before going over the ground rules for our forum, I want to offer some brief general remarks. We all owe our thanks to the four candidates before us this evening. The essential element, what makes public education different from any other, is the ability of the public, through its elected representatives, to exercise control over the schools we fund and that our children attend. If the public is no longer concerned about the fate of our public schools, or does not understand its role in the conversation about schools, we are in peril of losing this most American of civic institutions. Public schools were invented in our country more than 150 years ago. Generations of students have been successfully educated in our public schools. They learned how to function in the world of work, and perhaps even more importantly, they learned the habits of living in a democratic republic made up of people of all backgrounds and all walks of life. Today, it's an article of faith among many that public schools underperform private schools and charter schools. Needless to say, the reality is far more complex, and some of the very best schools in the country are public schools. In fact, the top 6 high schools in the world, not just this country, in the world, in terms of counting Nobel Prize winners among their graduates, are all public high schools in the United States. One thing we can say with absolute certainty is that only public schools are expected to educate every child in our society, regardless of where they came from, who their parents are, their abilities, and their challenges. In a very real sense, the near-term future of the Tucson Unified School District will be determined by the decisions that 2 of these candidates will help make. Whether or not you have children in TUSD schools, you will be impacted by their decisions. Even if your children attend non-TUSD schools, you will be impacted by their decisions. So by choosing to attend this forum tonight, you are doing the absolute best thing that you can do to make wise and thoughtful decisions about how to cast your votes in the upcoming election. These 4 candidates are going to differ on their strategies and approaches to how TUSD ought to be run. But what they have in common is also very important. No sane individual would be willing to invest the huge amount of time necessary to serve on the TUSD governing board without being completely and absolutely dedicated to the future of our children. These candidates share that dedication and are willing to put themselves on the line in order to be able to serve. I'd like for us to give all the candidates a round of applause. Thank you. And I hope that we can honor their commitment by showing respect to all the candidates, even if we disagree with some of their proposals. Now, here are the basic ground rules for the forum. All of the questions are going to go to all the candidates. So if you're crafting questions, please expect them to be answered by all the candidates. There'll be no time set aside for either rebuttal or direct debate. If candidates choose to use part of their allotted time to respond to prior comments by other candidates, they may of course do so, but they cannot expect additional time for that purpose. I will ask all the questions. 5 questions, the first 5, were written by Tucsonans United for a Sound District. The candidates have already been given the topics of these questions, though not the specific questions themselves. We will add to these as many questions submitted by the audience as time allows. A committee is going to select representative questions from those written by members of the audience and give them to me. And a few individuals will be circulating, picking up the questions that you write. The candidates will take turns answering questions. The order of response is going to be the same throughout, and being a retired teacher, the order is alphabetical. So we're going to start with Ms. Grijalva, then Mr. Hicks will be second, Mr. Ortega third, and Mr. Solis. And all the questions, they will go that order, but the initial responder will change for each question. So Ms. Grijalva is going to answer the first question first, Mr. Hicks the second question first, and so on. At the end of the questions, each of the candidates is going to have an opportunity to make closing remarks. Candidates will have a set amount of time to answer each question, and we will let the candidates and you know how much time they have for each question. There is a timer from the League of Women Voters who has these paddles, and she will let the candidates know when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, 15 seconds, and when they are out of time. And when the timer holds up that stop part, I will ask candidates to stop their remarks. I would ask audience members to hold their applause until the candidate has finished the response, so as not to reduce the time that the candidate has to respond. You won't penalize your candidate if you wait till the end, because the timer will have stopped. So with that having been said, we're going to go right on to the first question.